Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and in this video I want to talk honey shows. So that's something I really don't have a lot of experience in, but I'm learning a lot. I'm going to leave some links pinned down below for some YouTube videos and also the rules to our Hive Life Conference honey show. So if you're wanting to enter that, either now or in the future, you can kind of see what we do. The videos down below, even if you're not coming to our Hive Life Conference and you're wanting to enter honey shows in the future, or you would like to take your honey show game up a level, I think you'll find some good information in the several videos that I'm going to pin down below. One more thing I'm going to pin down below, well, two more things. First of all is our Hive Life Conference Facebook group where you can ask a lot of questions on stuff like the honey show or anything else that's going on. A lot of vendor deals there too, incredible ones. Best you'll probably ever see in one place. And also I'm going to leave a link to Hodge's ribbons. They do blue ribbons and all kinds of stuff. They're made in the USA. They're really nice. They're the ones that we are getting for the winners for our 7 different categories at our Hive Life Conference. We didn't want to go cheap because you can get those things for just, you know, a little more than a nickel from overseas, but these are made really good. They look good and they've got a nice basswood button in the center. And I mean, I think it's only fair. You got high quality American honey, you need high quality blue ribbons. And of course there'll be first, second, and third place in almost every category. There's going to be, again, 7 categories, but one of the categories is going to have 7 places. That's the black jar category. So let's talk about those categories really quick. And don't forget to check those videos down pinned in the comments so you can see how to prep extracted honey, cut comb honey, wax blocks, all those things. So what we're looking for at our conference is 7 different categories, and the first has actually 3 within it. It's extracted honey category. We have 3 classifications of extracted white. We have light amber. This isn't probably the best examples, but I had to work with the honeys that I had. And then amber. Now amber probably will be a little bit darker, and light amber can definitely be lighter than that, I believe. Definitely you'll want to watch the videos below because they're much better than what I have, informationally speaking. And also our head judge, Rick Sutton, is very experienced and has a ton of information to share on how to win big at big competitions at honey shows and just to help you up your game when it comes to that. But that's 3 categories right there. And also we'll have chunk comb honey. Now this is a terrible example. You wouldn't want to enter this jar. This glass jar would be great, but it's so crystallized you can't even see the chunk comb in there, so it wouldn't judge good at all. You can see there's a comb in there, but there's just all kinds of debris and crystallization, so this wouldn't be a good show honey. And I want to say just really quick that yes, many people are going to look at this stuff that I'm fixing to get into and just go, yeah, that's ridiculous, the honey's still good. Well, you're right. There's a lot of cultures that love crystallized honey. It's okay if there's a few bubbles in honey. And in real life, if you have a little bitty air bubble in your jar, that's not going to potentially deduct points or anything like that, or bubbles just floating around in your honey. However, I think there's a lot to this. Whether it's, you know, kids like in 4-H, I love that about 4-H, where they're getting involved with animals. In this case, they're getting involved with honey and bees. Of course, older people can get involved and have a great time too, but I love seeing kids get involved because it teaches so much about not only good husbandry with whatever livestock you're dealing with, but also just discipline, work. You know, things like my dad used to say that we're character building. So yes, we're doing more character building stuff. It ain't gonna hurt anybody. So we've got the 3 classifications of extracted. We have the chunk comb honey. Then we have the 4-inch by 4-inch comb honey, and that is just comb honey. It's not in a jar like this. There is a little bit of difference with that one. All of the other classifications must be in glass. They can have a plastic lid, but they need it be in a glass jar. But the comb honey, the 4x4-inch, can be in a plastic, and you can get those at any major bee supply, no problem. And that we would love to see yours there, because that is one of the best products in my opinion, is nice comb honey. Such a fresh honey underneath that cappings. Now the other classification we're going to have is the 4-pound to 5-pound wax block category. As you notice, we're not really specific on weight. it can be anywhere between 4 and 5 pounds. What we're mainly looking at is uniformity of color, not burnt wax either. Also, it doesn't need to have a bunch of rough edges on it, bubbles, things like that. It needs to be a nice uniform block of wax with a good color. So capping wax would definitely be good for that. Again, check the videos pinned in the comment below and you'll see a lot of tips on how to prep this and make it really look show worthy. One important factor is you need to have 1 pound glass jars as well. In all the extracted categories and also the chunk comb honey, it must be in a 1 pound glass jar. There does not need to be any labels on it. We don't want any biased judging. Not that I think we're going to have it, but that's just the way that we're going to do our honey shows, so nobody knows whose is whose. It's the best way to do it. So if you have a label on it, or if it's a plastic jar, that's an immediate disqualification. So don't do it. The black jar category can be as little though as 4 ounces. It's just strictly based upon taste testing. In that category, it needs to be a black jar, a colored jar. You can paint it, you can do whatever, but you need to make sure that you can't see in it very good. If you had a colored like green jar or something like that, that'd be fine. We don't want the judges looking going, oh, that's a nice clean looking honey on the inside. We just want them to taste it and then judge it strictly on taste. So it can be as little as 4 ounces and as much as 1 pound, somewhere in there, and there'll be 7 places for that. Now, getting into a little bit more detail on some of these, we already talked about the beeswax block, that you got to have uniformity and nice color and good texture, good aroma, all that kind of stuff for your points. And make sure you check the rules down below. But what about the extracted ones? We've already talked about 1 pound jars. It doesn't always have to be this type for the extracted. It is best to have a queen line jar, glass like this. It just shows a little bit better. You also want to make sure if you get like a dozen jars, go through and pick the nicest ones out. Every now and then you'll get a jar that has maybe a, not like a crack in it, but maybe a little seam or something where the glass folded a little bit interesting. And that might not necessarily deduct points from you always, but it's best to go the extra mile. Make sure you get all the fingerprints off of there. Use a nice cloth that's not going to leave residue. Probably microfiber, I would say, but the videos I'm going to leave below might have a difference of opinion on that. You want to have clean lids, not dented ones, anything like that. It could be a plastic lid. It just needs to be clean. You don't want a lot of debris floating up in there. You can't tell right now, probably very good in the video, but there's a little bit of crystallization going on in this jar, and this will deduct some points from your honey. I just bottled this one today and this one just for the reference, and there is a lot of little bubbles in here, and that'll actually deduct a little bit of points. Obviously the honey's still good. Keep in mind, in big honey shows you could have hundreds of entries. You have to have things to differentiate one group from the other. Otherwise, if it's really basic rules, how do you tell someone that's put a little bit more effort into it than someone who has just thrown it in there? So that's where a lot of these rules come from, and I think they're good. Myself, if you're gonna, it's good work. Put that extra work in there. This is a polariscope. It doesn't have the lenses in them. I just got some new lenses because this is an old polariscope made in the USA as well. That's why it still works. I just need to replace the lenses, which I already have purchased them. Just got to put them into place. When the honey is put in between here, whoops, you can see every little thing in that jar. You can see every bubble, every piece of wax, every little bitty crystal in there. And so it helps the judges see what's going on. Also, and this is even more important, all of the honey will be judged besides the black jar, the comb honey, with this refractometer. And you need to make sure that the moisture content is not so high that it could be in the dangerous area to ferment, because this is one of the tricks that you learn over years, either doing honey shows or bottling your own honey, is, okay, this honey is in great shape right now, and in its liquid state is just fine. Now if it's got a moisture content of about 16.7, 17%, that's great. But what if it's like 18.9, 18.7, it's a little high up there? Well, in this state it might be just fine. It might not ferment. What happens if it starts to heavily crystallize and you get all those crystals falling to the bottom, and then you get all that separation and more moisture gets up towards the top? You'll get fermented honey, and that could either ruin the product for your customer, or it could end up, if they eat it, making them sick and really turning them off honey and kind of getting you in a bad spot. There's little things that you can learn through studying honey shows, and I definitely am not an expert. I know about this much, just enough to where I can do this video. So read the instructions below. You'll learn a lot about it. We hope to see you enter at the competition. One more thing I almost forgot to mention. The extracted honey categories. This doesn't apply to the beeswax blocks or to the comb honey. It doesn't apply to the black jar or anything like that. But to the extracted and the bottled categories, you need to have 3 of these for each category. So if you enter in the light honey category, you'll want 3 of these jars. This is also so we can kind of base an average. It's easy to prep 1 jar, but can you do 3 of them very well? And that also helps the judges, especially when there's dozens and dozens or even hundreds of entries, to be able to, as accurately as possible, score each participant. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of work, but we look forward to seeing your honey at the Hive Life Conference or hearing more about your experiences with honey shows in the future. If you have any comments or suggestions about honey shows, leave them below. Definitely check out the links in the comments if you'd like to learn more. And thank you for watching this video.